helps me to forget. Wonder what I'm thinking. Wonder why I'm drinking. But it's plain to see I'm not the man I used to be.
Hello and welcome back to 52 Topics with Frank Fiordolino. Ridgewood, a true story. Ep.7, Janini Cafe. So Frank, in episode 6, we laid some of the more of the groundwork about some of the younger characters that are going to really form this crew and forever be affiliated with this crew as people who later on we'll discuss, some people already know, would do some things that could be classified as pretty horrible, right? But the cafe has not yet opened yet. It is about to open, right? At
Right.
6612 Fresh Pond Road. But
Correct.
before that, it was, and we touched on this in a couple other episodes. Giannini was at a previous location, but let's go into some of the history because there's some cafes closing, some cafes moving to other locations. So what's the etymology of that Fresh Pond Road Giannini Cafe that we all know?
All right. So there's Nino's on Palmetto and Fresh Pond. We talked about that. That was originally Aiello's Cafe. When Tony Aiello goes to prison in 84, 85, on 80, he gets apprehended in 85. He still owns the building, and they try to hand it off to his nephew to run it, but his nephew was young and he wasn't ready for that move. I'm talking about Joe Gambino, and it kind of was like forcefully taken away from him. And I think it was probably his uncle telling him, "Look, let's just rent it out and let my family collect the rent on it." And they rented out to a Nino Mastretta. That's who the place was named after. Now Nino was cousins with Baldo, so you could figure that out. Now when that happened around 89, Janini's Cafe was originally where Casablanca was, where Joe Messino had. And the cafe was one part and the restaurant was other. And it was called Janini Cafe and Janini Restaurant. But when the Nino's place, which was Aiello's at one time, closed down, not closed down, went up for forfeiture, there was a store that was open in the middle on 6612, and that was owned by Fabio's mother. She said, "Hey, why don't you move the cafe from there, A, where it used to be, and B, and move it right there at 6612, and just turn the Giannini's place just to a restaurant." So that's what they did. That was the birth of Janini Cafe, the cafe you guys see. The
So
ones
what's
that
with the name though? Where does the name come from?
I have no idea. I never asked. It sounds Northern Italian, and it's a cafe, beautiful cafe. I won't get to that, by the way. But back to the cafe that was once Nino's. Nino ran it, and that was the property was owned by Tony Aiello, Ace's dad. When his shit went to forfeiture, they took that. They took that property, and then they took a lot of his property. Like he owned a building which Valentino's Fruit Market is. That's on Madison and Fresh Pond. He owned that building, and that went into forfeiture. I remember the old man Vito, Anthony's grandfather, getting pissed off that when it went for the auction, the guys who were there already ended up buying the building. And he was sore about that. The old man was funny. He was
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
man. I loved that old man. I did. I loved him. And he sees the fucking guys bored and he's trying to throw a punch at 80 years old. You motherfuckers. You don't tell us not. The guy's like, somebody else would have bought it. But like, I don't give a fuck. You should have told us. You know what I mean? He was old school. He was just
Yeah,
fucking pissed
yeah.
over it. But you know what I mean? Shit happens. They lost a lot. And I'll tell you why they lost a lot of the Aiellos did, because Dad gets caught in 84. He doesn't fall into the forfeiture laws, but he goes on the lam for about 8 months, 9 months. And during that time, Giuliani writes up these old forfeiture laws. I mean, he helps pass them.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, he falls into them. So they were reduced to one house, and that the one of the grandfather lived right two doors away from me. So Anthony was very young. You figure shit, by 89, he's maybe 5 years younger than me. He probably was 14, 13 years old, and his life was just turned around. Him and his brother Vito, they came living, but he adapted. He's a trooper, the kid. He's a trooper, and he came there and he lived right next 2 doors away from me, and that's where they were. His mom and my mom used to sit on the stoop every night. His mom, God rest her soul, beautiful woman, Betty was, and that's just that life, But they missed by that 1 year, and he lost everything. So back to Giannini's Cafe, 6612. That opens there, and with the restaurant, which already was established, there's three partners. There's Nino, there's Sam, and there's another guy I don't want to mention. Was a really nice guy. I don't even know if he's living anymore. I just don't know, but he was really nice to me. Never really involved in the bullshit, so I don't want to mention. And then there was the guy in the back. We all know who that was. Okay. Me and Nino were very close. Our parents, the guy, the manager at the cafe, his parents and my mom and his mom played together when they were 5 years old back home. Okay. So this is how far we go. It's like family. So Janini's, how was Janini? Janini's was a very nice, one of the best looking coffee shops around in our areas. Of course, if you go to 18th Avenue, there's a lot of them like that. We had a $15,000 coffee machine, okay, for beginners. Marble, big TVs if you want to go watch your soccer game. Eventually, they took the other store over because Fabia's mother owned the store next door, so they rented from her next door as well. There was a pool table in the back, a kitchen. It was really, really, really a nice place. For its time. If you ever been there, I'm trying to think.
Well, let me ask you, and maybe this is a dumb question, but generally, like, open to the public type, like I can go there with my lady and have dinner, or like what is the vibe like?
All right, so food wasn't our thing. It was either coffee, espresso, cappuccino, pastries.
Okay,
Some we tried the food sometimes, but that was like for lunch. If anybody,
right,
the spinjun, which is the pizza, the Sicilian style,
yeah,
that you would get in bakeries back in Sicily. They sold them, and I remember when Baller ended up coming there, like I don't know, fucking 96, 97, trying to. The place was going a bit under, trying to help it out. He would cook. He was a very good cook, by the way. He made a great seafood salad. I remember that. So, can you guys go there? Yeah. If you want to ask a question, you and your girlfriend come there. There's no problem. Have your cappuccinos and everything. It
okay.
ain't like certain people say. Nobody would say anything, but no.
Pastries made in house, or
The what?
pastries made in house, or brought in from
No.
local?
Yeah, local. We had
Okay,
at one point we had Grimaldi's giving us
cool.
pastries, and then at
Okay.
one time they were coming from 18th Avenue,
Oh wow.
Villa Bate. No,
Yeah.
good stuff. It was really good. It was a great place to hang out. First, they didn't want the young guys coming in there. That would be all of us from Nino's because kind of when everybody moved out, Nino's was on its last legs. It was kind of our hangout for a minute, especially when Italian 90 closed down. So we were there a lot. I told you I get arrested in
Yeah,
1990.
yeah. You got in trouble over there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, on St. Valentine's Day. They were all at the restaurant, Janini's coffee shop. They're like, "You got this?" The Janini's, which was Casablanca. You got this? Yeah, I got this. What the fuck's gonna happen? And I got fucking locked up in there. So yeah. They were like, I don't know. But they got we grew on them, and we started coming. Paul liked to gamble. He liked to play a form of rummy. Um, and then the younger guys started coming. A little bit of the older guys. We were there. So that's what happened to that place. The layout, I gave the layout. You walk in, tables to the right, count to the left. You go in. Then there's another room, which was a big room on your right, which is like dining. You could bring. It's more for people that hang out there. But even if you did go in there, it was okay. They had a TV or whatever. That wasn't a big deal. Now the other room is for members only. A private. It has a private sign. You can't. That's for the gamblers. So we have 4 machines there, like Joker poker machines, as you already know. And the other room gave us access to another 2. So we had 6 all in all. A pool table, a pinball table, a pinball game. Played pinball. Every time I would go, this is how much of a cocksucker Ralph was. And God rest his soul, even though he was fucking like that. Let's say if I was about to beat his high on a fucking score, and he's watching, playing
Hold on, let
pinball.
me guess. Let me guess. He unplugs the machine.
No, even better yet, he knew the sockets, the switches.
My brother used to do that shit. We used to play wrestling
Bro,
on the video
bro,
game.
he was
And
that
anytime
guy.
I was
He
gonna
just
beat his guy, he would fucking turn the system off just so he saved
yeah,
his
yeah,
record.
yeah. So and then moon me and run out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You fucking just stupid shit like that. My brother Phil was back on Knickerbocker Avenue when my brother was starting. My brother who passed away was at that time starting to because I can't work. I never could work with my brother Phil. It was oil and vinegar. He was just an asshole. So my brother. The only reason they got along was because my brother was the one who held it together. He had no choice. He was bad with money as well. So fucking if my other brother was like, I can't take this shit. He was drowning. You get it?
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
So that was it. But he was also starting to take book, but not maybe a year or more after. My brother just did very well bookmaking as well. My brother Joe did, the one who passed away in September. With all this going on, we have the Italian 90, the World Cup coming pretty soon. My family, we were going to go to Italy in July, as a family. My brother, his kids, my mom, my dad, and myself. Remember that was going on. So this is around May when this opens up in 1990. I told you who the owners were. There was Sam, there was Nino. Told you the layout. Um,
So
oh
in the
yeah,
beginning, you say like they didn't really want us to come around or whatever. So maybe they're trying to draw some sort of mature crowd. But how long before you guys really kind of take it over?
we never take it over.
Well, I don't mean take it over, but where it becomes
Oh,
like a place.
that was just like having anybody else in there.
Yeah, like a
Um,
lot of young guys. When does it become like the young guy hangout? Like a bunch of you younger guys are really hanging out.
it don't. It's a mix. We have a lot of the older guys are playing their old scuba and the Italian games. We have the guys in the middle that play serious games. There's a downstairs they could go gamble, and then there's us. We're there, but we're not. We're reaching our 20s now. It's a little bit different, and we have an understanding like that shit that goes on at Nino's can't go on in Janini, because
Right.
there's repercussions. So we understand. We're not. I mean, we get away with shit. Like Paul beat the shit out of some guy one time at Nino's because we used to fuck around with him, and Paul was pissed off again that day. So we used to call this guy right on like on a sneak. I crank call him. He's playing his game. I kind of feel bad about it now because, and they became friends after. But he was older than us. I don't know if we were like 20, he might have been like 42, 43 years old, 44. And we would call him up and ask for his name. And then I'll call him and he'd get the phone. And then somebody would scream out. His nickname was Mortadella. And they go, Mortadella. And he'd go fucking, and he go piss, you motherfuckers, you cocksuckers, come over here. So whenever we get a reaction from, we used to do it more and more. And Paul never got involved in those things, but he happened to come out. And this one time we fucked around with him too much. He comes and he screams in front of everybody. He goes, if any of you motherfuckers who did it have enough balls, come and confront me. If not, your mother's a whore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your mother's a whore, whoever did it, if you don't have enough balls. So Paul grabs him from behind and starts fucking. He wasn't even him. He just didn't like that he fucking gave that ultimatum. So he's kind of choking this fucking guy out. We're like, what the fuck you doing? We're pressing him out. And Fabio was notorious for this shit. He would find things funny that wasn't funny. Like when we beat that fucking kid out of deli, he would just laugh. Like Maury when he's getting his fucking head pulled.
Yeah.
He was that guy. So I'm like, what the fuck? And even if you try to stop him, Paul be throwing fucking elbows. And so that was the type of shit that was going on at Nino's. Paul felt bad about that. He ended up like talking to the guy on his own. He didn't need nobody to tell him. You know, one day I find them and they're actually talking, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, we kind of fucking put the laid into that. You know, he had nothing to do with it, but
Right.
that was just stuff that was going to me getting arrested, fucking cops in there. You know, once they gave us that kind of freedom, we abused it, and that's the type of shit that was going on.
Yeah, yeah. So Giannini Cafe, how long before, like, if you could think back, right? One question is, any faces, any big shots, any older guys do you remember coming in there? And then how long before, like, open a spot, right? I assume some sort of word gets out, maybe, hey, so and so's got a spot, maybe
Right.
go over there, patronize them, hang out, maybe play a game, get a coffee, something, say hello, whatever. How long before that really starts taking
Right
off?
away, because we all knew them. They were just people who hung out. They started at Aiello's years ago, and then they went to Giannini's on then it became Nino's. They were there. So the clientele was there. The foot clientele wasn't there, like the older people and stuff. Um, the location, but they didn't want. They were afraid that they spent so much money into this place that they if they do end up going into that place and breaking it up, they closed the whole thing, restaurant and cafe. You understand?
Okay, yeah,
But
yeah,
now
yeah.
they just have a cafe. That's one thing. The clientele was always there. Matter of fact, Fresh Bun had a little bit more of the foot traffic, the Joker poker machine traffic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what was good. Um, when they did move from eventually to that where Casablanca was after that cafe there, it kind of divided and conquered. Some stayed behind that couldn't get to that place every day, and it was mostly the older people. It didn't make so much of a difference. I think they kept it open solely for the machines, figuring that the machines kept it open anyway because they weren't making money off my friends and the old people at all. So that's why it made sense after. You know, you got to remember when Janini's closes. No, when Nino's closes, the one that went to, and then Janini's open. The oldest person there is probably Ralph. He's 21. I'm 20, close.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, we're still getting over being over there, so we're still young at the time. It's about the time where Ralph's getting worse and worse with his bullshit. You know, um, but they start doing well, and then out of nowhere, a pool hole opens in the corner. A little after that, and that kind of irked the Janini guys, the owners and whatever. They said, "Why the fuck they open this place now?" They opened up a pool hall because with the machines, they put machines in the pool hall, but they weren't allowed to have card games. It went to kind of a sort of a half-ass sit down. That's how it was decided. They go, the place was there already, put money in the place. You guys talking about the Patsy Gambino guys, Sicilian faction, were not allowed to put gamble like tables, but they were allowed to put machines. So with that, I'll introduce you to that. They were John DeLeo, who opened up the place, and another guy, Vito Jamona. They opened up that place.
Relation to Joe DeLeo at all?
Yeah, that's the Duke's uncle. So the Duke's uncle got his little crew going. They're formatting, and that crew is I don't know who's the head of that crew but there's this Enzo Pilara guy, and he's been a Patsy Conti guy for a long time. They're both associates, but they're with Conti. I would say Pilara more than John, even though John acted like he was probably more because he was a little bit older. And then you had Joe, the Duke, part of that clique. I always say little that clique. My ex buddy Nat was part of that clique at one time, and I'm trying to think who else, but that's what it was. It was made up of those guys, and those guys they were part of Patsy Conti's crew, right? Not so much Nat at the time, but yes, that was the clique, and they opened up a pool hall on the side. Obviously, the Janini people were not happy. They're like, "What the fuck? They just opened," but there was so much they could do about it. So we have a Sicilian faction of the Bananos, and then a Sicilian faction of the Gambinos. And the pool is cool. People go to play there, they hang out. It's just basically splitting customers. That's what it was. Not really new people were going there. You know what I mean?
Right. One side's people would go one place, one side's people would go to the other place. But I'll ask you the same question I asked with Giannini. Can I go there and play pool?
You probably would have had a worse time playing pool in there than getting a cappuccino at Giannini's.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a little bit more like who's the new guy that comes in? Like that part in Animal House where they go into that all blacks place and everybody starts looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. And meanwhile, the World Cup is coming. So if anybody lives in Italian neighborhoods in, I don't know, in New York City, I could say during the World Cup 1990, which is being played in Italy, everything gets spray painted. The whole neighborhood starts getting set. It's a big fucking time. And everything's starting to go that direction. You know what I mean? Fucking, we're ready to watch the games, make Italy win, and just tear shit up. You know, like we always did. We always did. I missed the one in 2006 when we won last because I was in prison, so that didn't work out. But we were ready. Fabio starts dating Sam's daughter, Sam DeFalco. Sam is, now you remember, he was a part owner. He was a part owner of Giannini's. So Fabio's dating Sam's daughter. I think her name was Fran as well, like his mom. And they start dating. While they're dating, this is supposed to be one of them mob weddings eventually. You know, they're being groomed. It's gonna be that way, and this is the way. Fabio's mother's excited that she didn't like the last girlfriend he had, so this was it, you know.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we start fucking gambling a lot. I remember during this time. So the guys do it too. They open up a gambling line with Bobby, and this is about the time I'm ready to go to Italy. And so this is the summer of the 90s. We go to Italy, me and my family, and I'll get to Italy in a second. While we're going there, I'm just gonna say there's this house in Long Island, and they go over and they hang out. There's a pool. The guy's in jail, and the wife lives with the mom. I'm not gonna say who they are, but they're related to one of the kids. So they all go there and hang out, and that's what they're doing. They're staying out of trouble. So it's Paul, Anthony Tabita, a couple of Anthony Tabita's friends, the younger guys, Fabio's friends. They're all going there. I don't think Fabio's there at the point, and I'll tell you why. There's this kid Pops that hangs out with them. They're all going to Long Island, and they're gambling with Bobby Wiziak. All right. It looks like it's going to be a great summer. They're doing that. They're gambling. Ralph and me get into an incident. So I'll tell you about that before, and I'm telling you what's going on with these guys. Meanwhile,
Ralph Shula.
Yeah, and Anthony and Paul start gelling more, and I'm ready to go to Italy with my family. We go to Roosevelt Avenue, a couple of us, and while we're in Roosevelt Avenue, some kids wanted to fuck around. We did this. I used to do it. They do it. Egg somebody's car, fucking tomato somebody's car, and they tomato my car right side top tomato. So we're coming out the fucking. They knew my car when I was coming out of the fucking the hookah house on Roosevelt. Me and my friends were like, "What the fuck?" We knew it's somebody that knows us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm fucking livid. I want to fucking kill somebody at that point. I said, "Fuck this." So we're at Janini's, and Ralph just happens to come in, and he starts hanging out with these bouncers now, like wanting to be the next John Gotti. I think around this time he is hanging out with Bobby Glasses. So I'm walking out. I don't know what happened. He goes, "Hey, how's your car?" Nobody knew that. How the fuck you knew the car? Well, you know something about it?
Yeah. That's
No, I
weird.
just asking. So I go towards him and we grab each other. While we grab each other, Nino's like fucking 130 pounds at that. Nino, the one of the owners, and breaks us up. He goes, "Fuck this motherfucker. I'm gonna say everything." He goes, "Come on, let's go." I go, "Come on, let's go, you fucking piece of shit." Paul comes out the back. And he grabs me and he looking at me. He goes, fuck him, because at this point we knew what the fuck, was on his head. He's just wanted to be that guy. He wanted to fucking rub shit in people's faces. I'm making this, I'm doing that, and just be an asshole. But when he knew how serious he was, he he backed down. He was like, okay, all right, And Paul takes me to the side. He goes, yeah, one day, that motherfucker, one day somebody's gonna give him his. And not that he had anything to do with it, but he knew the writing on the wall too. This guy was getting too much fucking big for his bridges, He thought who the fuck he was. But then, like the day after, he's telling me what happened. It wasn't me. This guy was saying something. He just told me who it was right off the bat. The one kid. At that point, I was like, listen, I'm not gonna fuck. I'm ready to go to Italy. I don't care. And the kid who it was my friend's younger brother. So I was like, all right, I'll get him back some other way. And that I left it at that.
But
you
that's
forget.
so fucking weird. Instead of like him pulling you to the side and be like, "Yo, I heard what's his name fucked," but he just was like, "How's your car?" Like some
Well,
weird shit.
that's who he was. That's
Yeah,
who he was.
yeah.
He just liked to fuck with people like that all the fucking time. I remember when I don't want to spoil it, but he was just that fucking guy. We go to Italy. So we go to Italy, and I've been there 5 years before, but my brother, Rice Ball over there, he wasn't there, Phil. He wasn't there for a minute. So we go there. It was beautiful as it was 5 years before I was there. It was just a little bit more advanced. Things look like they calmed down. Like you could, the tension in 85 in Castelmano and Golfo, you could cut it with a fucking knife. 90 didn't feel like that. It looked like whatever was going on was settled. Whatever, it's, you come there, you see people. There was a newer generation that felt that was out there. My uncle Joe, who was part of my Tubipino, who's Dino's grandfather and my father's brother, he was there. He was really old at the time. He was in his 80s, and so he was safe from all that bullshit that came. Most of his friends were killed, or died during that second war. So he's probably like, fuck it, I'm gonna go back. What are they gonna do? I'm and nobody touched them. There was definitely a newer generation, and I told you what happened while I was there. They talk about, did you see the extortion methods and whatever? Didn't see the transaction that went over, but telling people what to do. But one day there was this restaurant right next to us. We had a house on the beach. We lived right on the beach, and our family was in there. And I hear like a moped. Meow. It was the first time they light the place up, and it's got like straw on the top. I know the people live there. I see them all the time. They have two kids, and it's a wife and the owner, and they stay towards like the back. So they have like this little hut. They live there, and they live there during the summertime, and they run their restaurant. But they go and they put the fire out this time. That's never a good thing. People talk, I wonder what happened. Oh, I think he owes people money, or he doesn't want to pay money, or whatever. And that's why they're doing it. I'm like, oh, all right. So, a week or 2 weeks later, I'm home and I got a white wall while I'm sleeping. I see that white wall turn orange. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? I look out. There it is again. This time they did a little sneakier better.
Jeez.
But this time it's burning good. So my reaction is to go around and just like go see what the fucking kids, if the kids are all right,
Yeah.
Well, I'm going out the house. My brother goes, where do you think you're going? I said, I'm going to see if those kids are right. I want to go see if those kids are, what's going on? He goes, no, come back. I go, what do you mean come back? I said, I'm going. And then he just shrugged, like, yeah, go ahead. What the fuck? And I went over there, but they were out already. I guess they were already used to protocol, you know what I mean? So they were out, they were okay, but they were scared. And the mom and the dad was there. I didn't give a fuck what happened. I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay. I don't know what mess his dad got into, But
Yeah.
that was that. And I had fun, man. It was like the last time that I personally, the end of the innocence for me, my friends. I come back home, it's a fucking mess. There was a lot of shit going on. During that time, Anthony had a lot of fucking cases. I remember that he was going through his thing, Tabita, and they were over there having a fucking good time in Long Island at the pool, fucking hanging out, and gambling. their gambling was weird because while they were gambling, this is what I hear after, you know, they're winning. They're betting baseball and they're fucking killing it. They're winning like every week. This guy, Bobby's giving them money every week. He's bringing them money and everything. And they're doing really well. And apparently this was going on. Oh, yeah, by the way, the World Cup, Italy came in third. They lost. They lost the game to Argentina in a semis.
Yeah.
So that was, I didn't want to skip that. But yeah, so they were just killing it. While I'm there, I remember Fabio came to visit me. That's what I was wanting to tell you. He was in Italy with Sam. He was dating his daughter. He was there with Sam. And apparently Baldo was there too. And Fabio was like, well, where's Frank live? And there was an older guy over there that you know, our family knew each other a long time. His name was Gaspar Bonventre, or Asparino Bonventre. And he goes, I know they're all over there. You know, the Navarra family is all in that part of the beach. And that's my mother's last name. So he brought him down there. And I remember Fabio saying, holy shit. He goes, you live this close to the beach? I go, yeah, yeah. I go, this is where we live. He goes, this is great. I go, don't you live by the beach? I go, yeah, but I can't walk there. I got to take a fucking car or something. But we
and Bonventre, if I'm not mistaken, once referred to by Joe Messino as the old timer.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
And the Three Capos hit.
He was involved in it, apparently. Allegedly
involved in the Three Capo hit.
Well, and that was according to Joe Messina, but he's long gone. He's dead. He was a good man, tall guy, another tall guy.
Okay.
You know, they talk about the other guys being tall. He was probably taller than them. But he came there. He knows our family forever.
Yeah.
And yeah. That was a vivid memory. You know, it's pretty cool when you have your friend come over there and visit you. You know, at the time, once upon a time, we're all cool with each other one way or the other. Even when we weren't, we looked the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool. So you got to see your neighborhood pal over there. You had a good time. So what happens ultimately? You do come back. What's going on?
But not yet. I mean, I come back and then I'll get to that a little bit. That's where all the shit hits the fan. But prior to that, I go back to Italy and it looked pretty calm. And 3 years later, they blow up the judges. You know?
Yeah. The Falcone and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was going on again. So I guess Sicily never loses its flair. You know what I mean? But it's a lot better place now. And but yeah, I loved it. But I loved America more, even though I was born in Italy. You know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 7 of Ridgewood: A True Story. Janini Cafe. Thank you all for listening.
Porte casune con un stemma a rete, una cuppulella che vi si era alzata, passa scampanianna pattuleta, con mano a papà te fa guardare. Tu fa l'americano, americano, senta a me chi t'ho fa. Tu vuoi vivere alla moda, ma se bevi whisky e soda, poi ti senti disturbato. Tu abballo rock and roll, tu gioca a baseball, fai sorte per camella, chi te li dà la borsetta di mamma, tu fa l'americano, americano, ma si nati in Italia, sienta a me non c'è sta niente a fa, ok napolitan, tu fa l'American, tu fa l'American, tu fa l'American, tu fa l'American.